Well, thanks for everyone for being here today. Just wanted to kind of give some insight on how the interview process went and walk you through that a little bit, talk a little bit about some of the characteristics that we're looking for in our new head coach. So the interview process for us, for our new head coach of the Roughriders, started about 2 weeks ago. We went through a thorough interview process of about, I guess we did about 12 interviews. Some of those interviews were in person, some were actually over video or Zoom. Because of the CFL window there, we had about 2 weeks to get everything done, so we did some initial interviews and then kind of moved into the next phase of the interview process. Some of the characteristics are what we were looking for in a head coach. I'll just go through a couple of those, or most of those that we were looking for with our new head coach. We wanted the coach to be someone that was a leader. Obviously, that's been in the role of a leadership role coming up through the CFL. Someone that has a great ability to be in front of people, not only the players but the staff. That was a big thing for us. Someone that was honest, someone that you could trust. I think that's a big thing within the locker room. Players trusting the head coach. Being honest was a big thing. Someone that possesses a great work ethic, a work ethic to be great, a work ethic to accomplish great things, not only for himself but the people around him. Someone that was a great communicator. Big part of being a good head coach is being able to communicate, again, not just with the players but with the staff, with the community. Someone that had a vision of what they wanted the team to look like, how they wanted to be on the field and off the field was a big part of the process. Someone that was going to bring a great staff, who had a staff that they were prepared to bring, that he had communicated with. That's a big thing when you go through the interview process, is making sure that that coach is prepared to sit in the chair. Wanted someone that was a proven winner, and someone that came from a great pedigree. That was important for me, that he was a proven winner and he came from systems or worked with people, and he came from great pedigree. Someone that wants to establish a winning culture and understands what that looks like. That was a big part of the process. I think when you've been through it and you see what it looks like, you obviously have a good feel for it, and it was important for us to have that as a key factor. And then lastly, someone that was not only willing but wanted to get involved in the community. I think there's a difference between being willing and wanting to. And so that was another key factor to our hire. So that leads us to our new head coach. And so, I'll say that right from the beginning, meeting Corey, obviously we have some history together, but we didn't have a long-standing friendship that lasted a long period of time. So part of the process for me was to let him get to know me as well. And so a lot of it was interviewing him, but a lot of it was him asking questions as well. And that was a big part of it. And I can tell you, right from the beginning, Corey stood out. He made it be known right in the start and right at the end that he wanted to be the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And you could see that he put himself in the seat when he communicated. Again, there's a difference between wanting something and actually going through the proper thought process, the preparation, all the details of being the head coach. So as we interviewed, we went through the process. I guess we went through it twice. The first night, the first interview was, 5 or 6 hours long. At the end of it, it felt like it was an hour long. He might not say the same thing, but it felt like it was going fast. And at the end of the first interview, I could tell that he was ready to be a head coach. Obviously, there's more process to that. We wanted to bring him into the building, get to meet him in person. That was a lot of the same. when he came for his second interview, again in person, and we were up pretty late.
Yeah,
we were up pretty late talking ball and talking about what we want the team to look like, and it became really clear that Corey was the clear candidate to be our next head coach. With that being said, it's my honor to introduce Corey Mace as the new head coach of our Saskatchewan Roughriders.
my man. Appreciate it, brother. Much love. Thank you guys. Certainly everybody in this room, thank you guys for coming out. Obviously, thanks to J.O. and Craig Reynolds, Kyle Carson for being a part of the process. And thank you, obviously, to everybody else in the Saskatchewan Roughriders organization for entrusting in my belief and my vision for what this organization is going to look like moving forward. Also, I have my lovely wife here, Petra. We're sans kids right now, so kids, I love you. We're sorry, you'll understand later, but they're 4 and 1 years old, man. The flights are looking crazy sometimes, but for anybody who understands what it means to be in professional sports, not necessarily just from a coaching standpoint, but players certainly understand it as well. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes in for us to try to be great. And unfortunately, that comes at the hand of our family sometimes. So I love you, babe. Thank you. Awesome to have my wife here. Also, if it's okay, I would love to just thank everybody out in the Toronto Argonauts organization. Pinball, obviously. Dinwiddie's my guy. All the players and staff there. Again, without that organization, I would not be here either. So I wanted to take time to thank those beautiful people over there. This is interesting. I'm going to share a little bit of a story. I know I've told a couple people, and I hope he's watching. So, as a young man, I knew, being the size that I was, that there's only a couple sports that I'd probably be able to play. So I lined with football pretty quick. Always watched it from a distance on TV. Never had a ton of opportunities to watch it up close until one way or another. I can't remember exactly the connection, but a gentleman by the name of Brooks Findley afforded my family tickets to go watch the Saskatchewan Roughriders take on the BC Lions. So I went to that game. Obviously, seeing this up close, I ended up getting an autographed card from Brooks Findley. So you have to understand what that means to a young aspiring athlete. That was the first professional athlete autographed memorabilia that I had. So I used to stare at that card often and dream about being a player. But I was looking at this logo for a long time as a young man. So this does mean something to me. This job, and I know everybody's, I've seen the retweets and stuff about, I want this job, and it's true, and I do. And I think it aligns with my football career to this point. To give you guys a little bit of a background, I'm from Vancouver, and we moved out to Port Moody. But I went to college. I played college football at the University of Wyoming, which is Laramie, if you guys want to check out what that looks like. Very similar to here. There's one team. Everybody's coming from all 4 corners of the state. And that team matches the community. And that's my vision. I was fortunate enough to spend 3 years in Orchard Park for another team, being the Buffalo Bills. And I think we all understand what that fan base looks like, and what that team tries to personify and to match in that community. I believe this is the one organization in the CFL that marries that concept, you guys. It's funny. The wife will tell you. I can't remember why, but we went to Cancun, of course, young couple. This is pre-kids, certainly. We jumped on a little bit of a boat to go to some smaller island, and sure enough, you see Riders gear. And I was thinking, how is this possible? They're green everywhere. You understand it, certainly being here. You understand it as a visitor coming here. And you understand it when you get to know people from the province of Saskatchewan, what this logo and what this team means to this community. I take pride in that as much as I know that the community takes pride in this team. I will never lose sight of that, I promise you, and I'll do everything I can to really provide that sentiment to the gentlemen who are going to don the jerseys on behalf of your team, okay? Because while J.O. is the GM, Craig's the president, and I'm a head coach. This is Saskatchewan's team, okay? And there's been other GMs, there's been other coaches, there's been other presidents, there's been other players, okay? But over time, everybody rides for that. So I will never lose sight of that. The players will not lose sight of that either. I'm excited about that. So moving forward, obviously I know there's going to be questions, and I think there's a process. And don't mess it up, guys, because AZ. Hey, I've been around AZ for about an hour and a half, and I can tell you don't want to mess this up. Okay, but I appreciate you guys. If there's any questions.
Yes, we'll just start with hands raised. Taylor?
Corey, welcome to Saskatchewan, first of all. But what does this opportunity mean to you, to have the trust from JO to take on this role?
Yeah, it means an incredible amount. Certainly, as JO spoke to, we took that time through the interview process to kind of get to know each other. That was important to me. There's a few things that I had earmarked. If an opportunity did come up to be the head coach of an organization, I had to gel well with the general manager. And I thought outside of, I'm sure, because I'm going to look it up, Jo. Outside of our times that we might have, played against each other, I'd probably say Jo probably got the best of me. We ended up seeing eye to eye on how this should look and how it's going to look. So that opportunity for me to come in and do that with somebody who I trust, who I know wants the same vision, who I know loves this team, it was an easy one for me. But in general, just to be a head coach has always been a dream of mine. So those two align, and it seems to be a perfect marriage, brother.
Can you, obviously back-to-back losing seasons here, can you be the guy to turn this team around this year?
Absolutely. I got to be quite honest with you guys, and I understand. I understand the expectations for any organization and what you want from a team. Okay, I'm very black and white, right? So each year there's only one good team. That's how I look at it. Okay, you either win the last game or you don't. Whether you were in it and you lost or you didn't even get to the playoffs, it's the same. You didn't win. Okay, so I understand the expectation, and then it should be that. I think people around the league, I think people within in the football community, we understand there's a lot of talent on this roster, man. The team was hit with a lot of injuries as well. That's part of the game. Opportunities like this don't really come up to be able to take over a team that I think has a pretty solid foundation, to be quite honest with you. So I certainly do believe that I am the guy, and I'm not going to do it by myself. Okay, I'll always say that nobody does anything by yourself. You do, if you think so, you got it backwards. Okay, so we're going to have an excellent staff that we have in our thought process, and obviously working hand in hand with Jo and Craig and everybody else in the building. So it's a full team effort. So we will be the ones to get it done. Absolutely.
Wayne?
Corey, we saw the video last night through social media of you walking through the tunnel into the stadium. Can you just talk about what's going through your mind when you experienced that moment?
Yeah, I got to tell you, it kind of came out of nowhere, if I'm being honest with you. So the process went, I came, on Sunday, sat down with J.O., Craig, and Kyle Carson. They gave the tour, unbelievable facilities, in case you guys don't already know that, okay? But I wanted to see the tunnel. I've only experienced it, walking on the field as a visitor. I wanted to feel what that looked like, and I walked out there, and instantly my urge was to kind of walk on the field, but I felt I didn't earn that right yet. So yesterday, I earned the right, and it just felt. I'm feeling it now. It just felt like I had to get it out, brother. So I was extremely excited.
And can you just talk about the dynamic? You played your entire career with Calgary, started your coaching career at Calgary, moved on to Toronto. Just talk about that dynamic of not being a Rough Rider, but now becoming the head coach of the franchise.
Yeah, I think the number one thing, and it's consistent across the league, at least in places that I've been, the two organizations prior to this, and I would certainly think anywhere else that had to come play here in Regina. You knew what you were going to get when you went there. I mean, the crowd noise that you prepare for at practice, while it's it's annoying, right? But it doesn't really match what it's like when you get here. From a player's perspective, I try to tap into that once in a while. It was always awesome to come play here, and that's because of the fan base, right? It feels like this is the arena, right? This is what you want as a professional athlete. You want to hear the boos, you want to hear the trash talk, and you want that. So to understand that competitive advantage that brought for this team is another check mark of why I want this job. So very, very, very easy decision from that standpoint, just knowing what it was like to be the opponent here. Yeah.
Britton?
Jeremy,
Sorry, bro. Shout out to the Grizzlies hat. You did that on purpose? I hope so. I love it. I love it.
Jeremy, just what separated Corey from some of the other candidates you interviewed? I think back to last year when he was interviewing for the Ottawa job, he emerged as a finalist kind of out of nowhere with the interview process and everything.
Yeah, I think first of all, let's start off saying there was great candidates. There really was. Got to talk to a lot of great coaches, and one of the things that I became clear to me throughout the process was our league's in really good shape. We got a lot of coaches that are going to be great head coaches, and so I had a lot of great experiences, a lot of good conversations. But with Corey, it was just different. I don't, someone on my staff said, was it a feel thing? I said, well, there's a little bit more to it than just feel, but that certainly was a big part of it. And so right from the start of the interview to the end of the interview, to the communication after the interview, to the communication of bringing him up, when I called him when I called him and asked him to fly into Regina, he said, man, I thought I was coming right after the interview. Like, he was just so excited to get the opportunity to come here and meet in person, and then once you have him in person, I mean, he's contagious. He's genuine. He's honest. Part of my job is to, as he just said, put myself in the shoes of the players. And it's a very complex thing. It's not just one thing or the other, but being a former player, just talking to an individual and saying, is this the guy that you would follow or run through a wall through? And it came clear that I would, for sure. But then there's so much more to it, and I don't want to use the term, maybe it's a little cliche, but checking all the boxes. We had a pretty long list of things that we wanted in a head coach, and at the end of it, you're looking at it and you're trying to figure out. A lot of times when you're going through this, you're trying to figure out what's wrong with somebody instead of realizing the 100 things that were right. And so it just became clear. Like I said, I also wanted, as I said before, I wanted to build a relationship. I'm taking a step outside my comfort zone, hiring someone that we don't go back 10 years, 20 years. We ran into each other a couple times on the field, obviously, but it was a learning process for them and for us. And so, as much as I was interviewing them, or we were interviewing him, he was interviewing us. And so as that goes on, you can see that the relationship was going to be very good. We're like-minded. We see things the same way. And that matters, because I think the players are going to see it. They're going to understand that we're together in this. We'll be on the same page, and we'll work together, and we're going to give it everything we have. So that's why he was the guy.
Corey, we're going to ask you a lot about on-the-field stuff throughout your time here, but just off the field, you've been very active in the community wherever you've been. Why is that such an important thing for you to be active in the community like that?
Yeah, I think just one, I think just the way I was raised, but two, for example, right? Like I just talked about these facilities. Okay, so obviously, that's money's not just going to come out of thin air. I understand, what any fan base provides to an organization, and this fan base gives a tremendous amount to this organization. So who are we? When I say we. My family and I, not to give back. And even if we can do, 6, 7 initiatives, it ain't going to measure up to what the fan base brings to us. So it's important the way I was raised. It's important to how we want to raise our children. And I just think it's the right thing to do, man. Yeah.
Darren?
Corey, nice welcome.
Thank you.
We have harsh winters here, and harsh fans.
Yeah.
And I understand you're going to be living here. What's compelled you to be part of this community? Close to what Britton was asking, but what's compelling you to live here?
Yeah, well, you ain't scaring me with no cold. I told you that. I'm like, listen, Laramie, Wyoming, Orchard Park, New York, Calgary. I mean, I've seen some. I actually don't know if I've seen hot sun in like 20 years, to be quite frank. So that doesn't worry me. But it's important, I think, just to be around the community. I don't want to be someone that you can't attain, you know, and I like having conversations, you know, if I'm at a coffee shop. I like talking ball or not talking ball. I just like being a part of the community. It's just, my job is the head coach of the team, but I'm still, you know, Corey Mace in the community, and my family looks at it as the same, to be quite frank with you.
You're living here?
Oh yeah, baby, we got now. Listen, I'm not going to get into all this NOD stuff. I don't understand that. Hey, but no, absolutely, yeah. So we're gonna take a peek at some spots and how that process works. You know, I only make a piece of that, and I'm a very small piece of that decision. That's the one you want to. Yeah, buddy.
How much of your coaching staff do you have in place?
We have a solid idea of who we'd like to bring in, but there's a certain process you got to follow within, you know, CFL rules. So we're going to continue to work on that. I'm sure even today we'll start, you know, hammering some more of that out. So, but we feel very good about the idea of what that looks like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Regina.
Thank you.
Have you had a chance to talk to Trevor Harris yet? And are you fully committed to him as your quarterback?
Yeah, great question. So I haven't talked to any players except for Trevor. Actually, I lied. I was texting with Kean Schaefer-Baker yesterday, too. Okay. I FaceTimed Trevor yesterday. We had a great conversation. I think the trajectory of the season for this organization changed a little bit when, obviously, he got hurt. He's been an outstanding quarterback in this league for many years, and I think, obviously, possesses all the skill sets to be a winner. No one playing against him or having to coach against him, he creates some problems for you defensively, and I know he understands how to manipulate that. But I think having him and you know, his leadership and experience within the locker room, I think will certainly not only galvanize the guys, but I think the relationship that Trevor and I build together. He's going to be an extension of my voice on the field. You know, it's I'm a firm believer of, you know, coaches. We can give them all the information they want, but the players are out there getting it done. So when you kind of get an assistant coach, you know, out there as some players, that helps. But we had a great talk, man. He's an outstanding human being, as I'm sure you guys all know that. So looking forward to building more of a relationship with Trevor and his family. Yeah.
And I'll just throw this one at Jeremy. With bonuses coming up, sometimes there's speculation about contracts being reworked. But at this time, do you anticipate any changes to the arrangement you have with Trevor going into 2024?
Well, as you said, he's under contract moving forward. I don't think we ever get into discussion players' contract situation in the public. I think that's a personal thing with us and the players. So, you know, Trevor's been always really good to work with, and you know, I know there's speculation and stuff about the past, but you know, those conversations we'll have moving forward, and you know, again, we'll always do what's best for the organization, for the team.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Corey, Jamie and I from See Jamie.
Jamie, how you doing?
How's it going?
Cheers.
First, it was I want this bleeping job a direct quote. Is that an accurate?
Yeah. So here's the real thing, and listen, guys. Just if I ever slip up. It's never meant in an aggressive way. It's just kind of how I talk sometimes. So I apologize, but no, yeah, there was probably some more in there, to be quite frank. But I wanted it to be known when we settled it up for sure that this is definitely something I wanted. So, absolutely.
How have you built the culture that you've had on defense, and how have you kept players accountable on what you believe works?
Yeah, you know, I think it's twofold. You know, I've been very fortunate to be a part of a few organizations that's had success. I think it's been a kind of a marriage of ideology, so to speak. Some things that I've learned even in situations prior to you know, my time in the CFL where things maybe didn't work. You know, I always kept a list of things that I liked or didn't like. And I'm sure obviously the things that I liked, there's a reason that I believe it works. And there's some things that I probably add to that. Now, I'm not going to give you all those because I feel like that's a competitive advantage. But what I will say is you got to be fluid. I could have an idea of exactly what all those intangibles look like. But you got to understand and have a pulse kind of on the locker room and relationship with those guys to see if that truly fits, and maybe you have to adapt and adjust from that standpoint. But accountability I think is one in every organization, and it's a matter of being firm on that. And honestly, sometimes it's the ones on the biggest stars on the team that take it sometimes, and it sets the tone. Truthfully, hopefully you never have to hold anybody accountable for doing anything that they shouldn't be doing. Football is it's a fast-moving sport, and guys sometimes find themselves in slumps, and you handle it in a certain way. But when the guys start holding themselves accountable, you got something. So that's going to be the end game.
Britt, just wondering if anybody has reached out to you since the announcement to kind of give you a fair warning and give you some words of wisdom of what it's like to be the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Oh yeah. No, plenty of texts about that now. Just yeah, I don't think, even from an outsider's perspective, I think we all know across the league what that looks like, being the head coach here, or even players here, or sitting in J.O.'s seat, Craig's seat. I mean, I think it just comes with it. But even from that standpoint, I understand from a media standpoint, you guys have to do your job, and accountability we just spoke about. I mean, we got to be accountable to doing our job as well. So I get that. But at the end of the day, I see it as I've been in, put it like this, I've been in other organizations where, everybody's moving in the same direction. We all have the same message, and that's something certainly, I want to get addressed in this building. I want us all to have the same vision. So, while I know media is going to love us when we're doing awesome, and maybe not love us so much if things aren't going our way, just have faith for myself that I know that I'm ready for that, okay? But no one's going to feel any more pressure than what we already feel inside this building. So I'm not too concerned about that. Matter of fact, I'm hoping it's all smiles and happy conversations. Yeah.
What immediate steps do you look forward to taking to turn this thing around right away?
Yeah. Well, number one, I can't wait to hop on the phone and just talk with the players on the roster. I mean, that's the number one thing for me. I'm big on relationships. I do, and not phony stuff, like genuine care. That's important to me. But again, we'll start right there with the players, which I'm sure we'll dive into today, outside of the two that I'd mentioned. So I'll leave it at that. That's the most important thing to start. Yeah.
Corey, last year especially, but even 2 years ago, the Riders had a lot of chances to, post Labor Day, win a few games and make the playoffs. What did you see from an on-field perspective that were some of the struggles that the Riders just couldn't close the deal?
Yeah, some of it, sometimes, I'm telling you, sometimes games come down to luck, sometimes games come down to injuries, there's a lot of different variables as to why. I'm probably not the guy to ask because I wasn't here, and when I'm watching from afar, I'm watching TSN, unless, we're playing them 3 weeks from now, then I'm really watching, right? So, I think there was a multitude of things that happened. I think injuries were a huge one here for the organization last year, which is tough. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the team's last game was versus Toronto. Okay, hey, clearly I was there, and that was a hard-fought battle, right? So you see a little bit of the mental makeup of some of these guys already have in this locker room. I'm excited to work with them, man. But to answer your question, I can't. I'm probably not the guy to ask for that. Yeah.
And Jeremy, there was reports and rumors about who the two finalists were going to be for the coaching position. Is there a reason you decided to go with a defensive guy in Corey versus an offensive coordinator in Buck Pierce?
I don't know. I think I was pretty open-minded going into it with not trying to weigh it on what side of the ball they coached. Really just wanted to, factor in on the coach, because it's one thing to be a good coordinator, but it's also important to be, strong in front of the group, so your workload's going to increase. And now you're the voice. You're the voice every time in front of the room. You're the person that's talking to them before the games, after the games, and so I don't think the position that they coached was a determinant factor by any means. Again, it was more just the totality of the process, and right from the first impression to the last impression was the reason why. But again, lots of good candidates. I know that a lot of stuff gets reported, but there was lots of conversations that happened, and we did a lot of due diligence on the candidates. But again, through the process, it became clear who the guy was.
Hey Corey, what's a Corey Mace team going to look like? What can fans expect? And what did you tell Jeremy about what we're going to see on the field from a team that's led by you?
Yeah, I would hope. Again, players are extremely important. I don't ever want to, downplay that. But the fans will let us know if they're pleased with the product, right? So, in saying that, I want our team to match what it is to be a Rough Rider fan. If you want to stay here for these brutal winters, like you said, okay, well, fellas, the most important games are played in weather like that. So we want to be comfortable in something like that. That's when we want to shine, okay? Blue collar, hard-working community. Well, we're going to be a blue collar, hard-working football team. And we're fast, physical, smart. Okay, these are all different things that we'll attack. But certainly a product that I would love for the fan base to come back and be extremely proud of, man. Yeah, it's going to be fun, brother.
What does it mean to you to be a Canadian leading a CFL team?
Yeah, it's a great question. Subtly, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I take extreme pride in that. Extreme pride in that. As I hope any Canadian would, to be quite frank with you. But you look around the league and some of the other, coaches that hold that title as well, and they do a great job. And you think about, the whole Brooks Finley story. Not to say that being a head coach is a sweet, as a young kid that you look up to, but just an opportunity, I think, not only for anybody who maybe aspires to hold a position like this, but as J.O. spoke about, I mean, there's some excellent coaches, in different organizations that are waiting for their opportunity, who are also Canadian. So I think being a Canadian of a head coach of an organization like this, mind-boggling, baby, and I'm very proud, very proud.
Just a couple more about John. Rob Hill.
Rider fans, as you both know, they're sick of losing. So, realistically, how soon can we get this turned around?
Yeah.
To get to a Grey Cup win? 5 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
Next year?
Yeah.
Give me a
No doubt. Well, today's day one, but what I'll say is I can't put a timeline on it because I've seen a process take. For example, my time in Calgary, we went to 3 straight, and it took the third one to get one. So you saw Montreal won this year. So all that I've seen is, it's possible to turn something around quick. But sometimes it could take a process. So I don't want to give you a timeline without actually meeting the team yet. You know what I mean? I think that'll certainly help out. But if it happens early, it happens early. If it happens late, it happens late. But just know that's really the only thing that we're going to be pushing for.
And I know you've been part of winning cultures before in Calgary and in Toronto. And I'm just curious about how you bring that winning culture to Saskatchewan, and so that we have consistent winning over a long period of time here.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. Obviously, we can do whatever we want as coaches. I think I have an idea of, kind of the ingredients to what the recipe of winning looks like. Just being a part of it for the last few years. But if you look, you got to have really good players. And I think the foundation, obviously, of what I spoke to, of what the J.O. and Kyle and everybody has done already to have some. This is the foundation of that is excellent, and I'm telling you, talking with other coaches around the league, other players, they understand that. I know maybe you guys may think something different sometimes, okay, but trust me when I tell you, the foundation is solid here. So, I think it's a marriage of kind of what what the locker room is, what the organization is, the brotherhood that these guys will share, and we'll all share as an organization. But also, I mean, you got to have talented players, and these guys do a great job already doing that, and I can't wait to work with them moving forward.
Corey, at what point in your life, your career, did you realize I want to be a head coach, and why was that an aspiration?
Yeah, so the gift and the curse of this game, right? Man, a lot of surgeries for this guy right here. Okay, so I spent a lot of time sitting there doing this, with the clicker. But even in my time as a player, I tried to be the guy to, take the younger guys under my wing, and I took pride in that and seeing their success when we'd work on something and they do something great. As my career was kind of on the back nine, I had enough wherewithal to see that, hey, this obviously is not going to last incredibly long. I tried different things, that had nothing to do with football, and it just did not sit well with me. I love the relationships that you build, because it's not, and again, I could be just making it up because I've never really worked anywhere outside of Safeway, as a kid. But the community between that and, what you get in an organization, not just from the player's standpoint, which I was lucky enough to do in a locker room, but then when you transition into the coaching aspect of it, which I was very fortunate to do right after my playing career, you see that that's a different set of family on the coaching side. On the football ops side, it's very close-knit. And then when you marry that into the locker room, it's just, it's family, man. And when you get selfish about being selfless because you want the people around you to succeed, it's special when they do. And I don't know that you get that anywhere. So to be able to be the leading voice of that and to push that in an organization, I want to see what that looks like.
So what is that moment like then when you get that notification for you and for Petra, when suddenly, okay, I'm the head coach? What is that instant like?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what happened. J.O. called me, and I was there, and he said, hey, I'm in the team meeting room, and I'm standing at the podium, and he said, I can't unsee you. And I said, hey, don't you start talking to me like that unless you mean it. Don't you say that. It was elation. It was elation. It was celebration. It's quite honestly, it's still sinking in. Even right here, I've put myself, as J.O. spoke to in the interview, I try to put myself in the situation. I've put myself here before, and it's living up to everything. Yeah, man, it feels amazing. Yeah.
Taylor?
Was there somebody that you thought of, or was there something in your past, the road you traveled, the adversity, the gratefulness, when you got that phone call, when you shook his hand and then signed that contract? Was there something that sort of you thought about the road that got you to that? Yeah,
there's so much that goes into it. Obviously, my family, friends, other players I've played with, coaches I've played for, coaches I've coached with, everybody, I'm telling you, is it's a culmination of my experience that leads me to where I'm at today, not only just, from a professional standpoint, but of my being. So everybody's had a hand in it, man, and it's overwhelming. But like I said before, I know for certain the relationships that I have with people, they feel the same way for me that I'd feel for them. So there's been an unbelievable amount of messages and stuff like that with just nothing but love and support. So I think of obviously those guys, but family time, that was a pretty good hug.
Obviously, quite a few months till the season starts. I imagine you would like it for it to be tomorrow, but what's the biggest challenge that lies ahead for you?
I think certainly just kind of getting started. We got to handle like we spoke to as far as getting the staff put together, and free agency is going to start picking up here, and obviously looking at guys that we would like to retain, and continue building the relationship with J.O. and myself. I don't look at those as challenges, just more eager to get it done, and then knowing that I don't currently live right here, so. Finding out what that looks like, I don't know. I need a realtor. Figuring out what that looks like, to get us here probably as fast as possible so that we can get to work.